Howdy y'all, Goosefather here. Today I wanted to do a quick video walking through our Pyg Academy guide. This is our resource we've been slowly putting together that is fairly robust in terms of providing information on how to find direction on Pig, how to understand some of our builds and archetypes, and also just a general resource for finding other resources. So I wanted to do a quick review. The most common question I get in my chat is from new Pig players wondering, like, if there's any tips or tricks on how to play Pig well. Um, I am coming out with a video very soon that is a complete Pig explainer from start to finish on everything but the brand new items, which will be another video shortly after. Just in case people are playing, with the new items and don't have, or with the old items and don't have the new yet. But in that video, I wanted to be able to reference this one because some information is just a little bit better in spreadsheet rather than seeing it in a slide. So I'm going to go over really quick what you have available to you here and how to use it. So first and foremost, the most important thing here is the Pig archetypes. Here we list just about every single Pig archetype in the game. It currently is missing the new items because we haven't quite figured out exactly what archetypes they fit into yet, or if they're creating their own. So as we become really confident in those decisions, we're going to add that information here. But in the meantime, you can find an archetype, you can find its definition, you can find the common variants of that archetype and what items might run with it in order to create those variants. So this is a very good way, like if you're doing Ice Club, to find out that you could run Fort to do a double swing, like stall one-shot version, or you could do a face rush version, or you could do a like shield version, etc., and the items that you would need in order to carry that out. Here is an ability to force. So this kind of tells you how likely it is that you're going to find those items. And forcing notes will tell you exactly what items you need to find and by when. So for example, if you were looking at Fat Pig, it would tell you that the builds comes to you, you don't go to it. You're going to need a golden pawn shop, and you're going to need a belt at the very least just to get started scaling on that build. It's not something you can fish for. So you're going to want to make sure if you're like, oh, I got a pawn shop, I want to do that. You want to check the notes to realize until you have the belt and the pawn shop is a gold, you're kind of nowhere. That didn't get you all the way home. So it's really important to make sure you know what's necessary in order to get the build off the ground. If you find yourself a silver drum on day 8, it's not necessarily something you're going to be able to run, etc. We have rankings for the early, mid, late game, and twilight for those builds. And this is a good way to start becoming familiar with when you're in something that's gonna fall off and you're gonna need to change. So for example, if you're running Chaos, it says it's a 7 in the mid game. Maybe you're high rolling and it feels really strong and you're winning quite a bit. But if you look at the late game in Twilight, you'll notice it falls off precipitously. So if you had 3 to 4 losses in the early game putting that build together and you have to go to day 13, this guide should put some fear into you, should let you know that that build is very likely not going to make it all the way to the end, and maybe you should be keeping your eyes out for some build you could transition into that's going to be a lot stronger. You could also sort by twilight or late game to find builds that have really high scores so that you can figure out what build you might be wanting to transition into. And then we have the ranking notes that kind of tell you what you would need in order to achieve the results that I'm giving in these ratings. For example, some of the weapons boards like Pig's Gym will have a very high early rating, like of 8. And you don't run Pig's Gym early, but you do run weapons like Lumbor and fast weapons as you're transitioning into Pig's Gym. And that's one of our better starts. So it gets such a high rating because the synergy, the build that you use in order to get into it, is highly rated in that early day, not because you should be running Pig's Gym on day 3. So make sure to read those notes in terms of how you get that thing. So this should help you become comfortable and familiar with all the archetypes of Pig, which should go a long way. And in the future, we will start having archetype breakdown videos where we go into deep detail on each and every archetype, one at a time, on all the synergies, the skill synergies, the item synergies, which vendors you should go to and when, etc., etc. In that vein, the first one we're going to have is Ice Club. And so we've started putting some resource information in here for that particular video. For example, we have a list of just about every single item you would ever run on your Ice Club board, with the exception of flex items like ointment. But everything that pairs and synergizes with the build itself are listed here. It has a rating on how good it is. It has findability, how hard it is to find. It has where to go to find it. The size of the items in case you're trying to figure out like what's going to fit. I need to look for a medium item. You could sort by that. You could sort by rating, find yourself what you got. And then some notes about what items it pairs with and what items it doesn't. We have roughly the same thing for skills, which vendors have them versus which ones don't, what tier they become available at, and notes, and then the specific text of those skills. So we're going to be adding a lot more like that as we go through each archetype. At some point, maybe we'll split that off into its own guide so this doesn't get too cluttered. But for now, we wanted to have it here to give you an idea of what's coming. We have all the encounters listed and a tier rating for them, how good we think they are, when you should use it, when you shouldn't, what's in each encounter in case you forget, and notes on how to access the hidden encounter. We have the level up reward cheat sheet just because I forget what level has which reward sometimes, and it's helpful for me to refer to. We have properties by percentage at each merchant. This is slowly going to be morphed into just a general merchant guide. It was really useful when we were running Kiosk and Beehive a lot because those were property-centric builds where you needed to buy and sell properties. But it's no longer as relevant for that. That said, it does have the total number of items that each vendor has, which is fairly helpful, and how many properties that they are likely to have, and then the property ratio. We're slowly going to get rid of this and transition it into a tier list for each one of the vendors with notable items on where to go to find those particular things. For example, if you're fishing for a crook for your square pig build, you should go to Orion because he only has 13 items. And of those 13, you get to see 6, and one of them's crook, so it's a pretty good game. If you're trying to find cold room for your ice build, you should go to Herma because she has a pretty low pool, and that's one of the items she has available to her, which isn't terribly intuitive to me. Maybe it is to you. The Monsters tab is in progress. We hope to have this up and running in about a week. We're going to do the same thing with all the others. We're going to have a tier list. We're going to have notable drops for each one of the monsters. And then we're going to have combat notes on tips and tricks on how to beat them. If you should be going over, under, or through. Exactly, like if there's a way to kind of cheese the monster out, like using just robe and bushel is enough on its own to beat flame juggler, or just using a little bit of sustain and one small item is enough to beat a hexa. Those kind of things we're gonna have here, along with, if we can get them, kill numbers, like how fast the monster is going to kill you if they have a consistent kill rate without randomness like crits or variable slow, etc., etc. And then the vendors tab is just a placeholder for me for where I'm going to move the merchant info into once it stops being property centric. But if you have any more ideas other than what's listed here on information that would be good to add, please either jump over to the Discord or jump down into the notes below or into the comments below and let me know. We are constantly updating this and we're trying to make this as thorough for you as possible. Forgetting if I went over it, but up here at the top is a little bit of information, links to the YouTube, to the Twitch, to the Discord. Discord is popping right now. A lot of people are there. We have a pig support channel where if you have any questions, you can go there and get pretty fast answers to them. I myself am in it pretty often. So if you have questions about the guide or about anything else and you want to ask, please ask them there. Or if you just have more ideas for information that you'd like to see available, videos that you'd like to see, please, please, please let us know. It'd be very helpful. And then I'm slowly going to be adding more resources as I come across them. For example, Bazaar DB, I found out way too late, actually has a list of every single trainer and what skills they have, and it's accurate and up to date. So that is very, very useful. So anyway, I hope that was all helpful. Like I said, we have more stuff coming out. We have a really, really complete over-explained pig archetype video that I've put about 30 hours of work into right now. It's going to be over 40 by the time it goes live in the next couple of days. So please look out for that. Hope that was helpful, and I hope to see you around again. And again, you have any questions, please throw them in the comments. Have a good one.